Hi, my name's Georgia Brown.
Hello, my name's Elwyn Summers.
My name's Jack Rowley. I'm a civil engineer.
This has been a really emotional job.
It's hard. It's hard work.
Yeah, it was challenging.
It's very challenging.
It's anti-social hours, it's intense.
A lot of sleepless nights.
I had my head in my hand.
The general public don't see what we do in the ground.
99% of people won't have a clue of the work that's gone in.
You've got to get it right.
This job makes me really happy.
I love my job.
So people don't always understand civil engineering.
Great things happen when civil engineers get involved.
We're always looking to sort of push our own boundaries.
They make the aspirations of others become a reality.
The scale of it is just
the most impressive thing I've ever done in my life.
Look at this fantastic flood defence scheme protecting over 14,000 homes. Every day, civil engineers design, build, operate the infrastructure that makes life possible for literally billions of people. And we've been doing it for thousands of years. But I'm not here to talk about the past, I'm here to talk about now, because things are changing. And if we want to survive, if we want to thrive in the 21st century, then we need to change too.
We need to change.
We need to change.
Things need to change.
Our personal motivations really need to change.
I'm really worried about the climate emergency.
My concern is we're creating an unlivable world.
climate change will affect those most vulnerable.
Our stigma towards AI is not allowing us to innovate.
We keep talking about it, but our actions are just lagging behind.
Things need to change.
We need to change.
We need to change. Our future generations depend on it.
The way that much of humankind is behaving is simply not sustainable. We consume too much and we do far too much harm to the environment. Because of what we do as civil engineers, we are part of the problem. But because of what we do, we must be part of the solution.
I think, Ed, we're at a point in history where the challenges are enormous. We're dealing with vast amounts of technological change. We're dealing with the world grappling with exactly what the path to net zero emissions looks like.
We have to adapt to climate change. It's a really massive, serious problem.
There genuinely is no other issue that's more urgent or important than climate action when it comes to change for infrastructure and for engineering.
The challenges are enormous, and I think the role of the civil engineer is fundamentally vital.
It's not just about fixing the pieces to do with climate action and cutting carbon and resilience. It's actually also about fixing a lot of the issues that have plagued our industry for decades that we could also try to get much more right as a result of this same cycle of change, I guess.
Since the ICE was set up over 200 years ago, the what and the how question have been at the heart of civil engineering activity. What are we going to do and how are we going to do it? Over time, we've come to understand that answering these questions depends on two guiding principles. The first is effectiveness. We must deliver meaningful benefit to society. And the second is efficiency. We must do that without creating unnecessary waste or unnecessary harm. As someone else puts it, we need to do the right thing and we need to do the thing right. Productivity is all about effectiveness and efficiency. And in my experience, it's absolutely critical to good civil engineering. And the need to do the right thing and to do the thing right has never been greater. We face a climate emergency and the challenges of the 21st century are unparalleled. Simply put, if we want to have a 22nd century, we need to radically improve our productivity.
I don't think that people realise how important productivity is towards the objective of addressing climate change. At the moment, we waste far too much. We will not get to zero carbon if we continue on this track.
A lot of people think that productivity and being productive is a business imperative. But I think it's much more deep-seated than that. It's something that we have to do to get more out of what we have.
Look, this is an urgent question because whether we like it or not, government and Treasury is worried and it's not satisfied. And it's going to look at every project and ask the question, can we live without this? So you've got to find ways of doing things more productively, more efficiently.
Telling people to be more effective, be more efficient, It's almost a cliche, and we forget sometimes how fundamental it is to sort of being human to try and be more effective and be more efficient. We try to be more effective and more efficient in everything that we do. It's my daughter's birthday in 2 weeks' time, and I'm planning her birthday party, and I want it to be really effective. I've been considering different options. I've got barbecues, because I really like barbecues, although she doesn't like barbecues. I've thought about giving her a few pounds so she can buy a pizza, which would be great for her and her friends, but not so great for us. My family love going out, but there's a lot of them, and so a big event outside would cost a lot of money, so that's not happening. And in the end, I've settled on the idea that the most effective birthday party for my daughter is going to be minestrone soup. So it turns out that once you've decided on the right thing to do, i.e. a nice minestrone soup, you've got to do it right, you've got to do it efficiently, and clearly I've failed utterly. And the reasons I've failed are common. They're the sorts of things that happen from time to time. For example, I meant to buy 200 grams of potatoes, pressed the wrong button on the app, and I got 20 kilos. I had to buy this bag of 10 handfuls of kale, although I only need 2. So what do I do with the other 8? I don't even like the stuff. It turns out that cutting onions with a butter knife is a quick way to hurt yourself and not cut onions. And unless you know how to peel a potato, you end up with a load of potato waste. All of this is sort of absurd, but it makes the point that efficiency is really important in everyday tasks. And actually, we try to improve efficiency in everything we do all the time. "16 years ago, London was awarded the 2012 Olympic Games, and I was fortunate enough to work on the programme for a number of years. For me, one of the most interesting things about London 2012 was the genuine focus on societal benefits and non-financial goals. And those of you who worked on the programme will remember the focus on legacy, on accessibility, on Paralympic sport, and the huge efforts that were made to make London 2012 the greenest Games ever. For me, it was this focus on non-financial goals that makes London 2012 such an effective infrastructure programme. So why don't we consider non-financial goals more? The reality is we really struggle to properly value or price all of the good things and negative things associated with infrastructure projects. We're not very good at it. And it's this inability to price the totality of the impacts of an infrastructure project that I believe means that we don't choose to do the right projects often enough.
I think it's very important that a key ingredient of making any good investment decision is picking the right economic model and really making a fundamental assessment of all the benefits and all the costs of a particular project. And that can often mean trying to price things that are very difficult, things like what's the climate or the emissions impact of a given project. What's the impact on distribution between various people in the economy, inequality in terms of wealth or incomes, and the impact on other things that we take for granted or feel are important in our everyday lives, like happiness.
Think about users, think about people and how people will use things. And that requires you to think about what will make them want to. And what people want to use is things which look good and feel good, they are good. So the quality of design and the quality of the engagement with communities and how communities interact with the infrastructure is absolutely paramount, and we don't do that enough. We need to do that much more, and now.
I've worked with the Environment Agency for over 20 years, and it's clear to me that what they do is absolutely fundamental as we try to adapt to a changing climate. So I've come here to Lincolnshire to visit one of the agency's flagship projects, the Boston Barrier. And this project for me exemplifies effective infrastructure directed at making life better for communities.
So the origins of the scheme for Boston Barrier all happened just before Christmas in 2013, where over 800 properties and businesses were flooded. We had Christmas trees, presents, people's homes and belongings out literally in the street that were being cleared up leading up to Christmas. So through our investment, over £120 million into Boston, one of the biggest investments it's ever seen really, We're providing a huge amount of assurance to the local community and infrastructure over a 100-year period.
So as a Boston girl, really it means so much for the people. 800 properties were flooded across 55 streets in Boston. My brother's A-level artwork was destroyed at the time, but actually lives were really damaged.
Well, at the Environment Agency, we have made a net zero commitment to reach net zero by 2030. So that's one of the framings that we use. We've also started using the Sustainable Development Goals as another way at looking at our projects. And with the Boston Barrier as an example, that was one of the first projects that we mapped against all 17 goals. But we actually found that by focusing in two or three of them, that we were able to deliver on more of the Sustainable Development Goals and start driving change and effectiveness in the project.
We face a huge challenge, as most people understand, with climate change. That means even some good things that we have are going to have to be seriously rethought. So we've got to take part in that. And we have to, when we think about doing this, the second point, we've got to think about how you deliver it. How are you going to build this? How are you going to make this work? So it's not just what is it, it's how are you going to make that change. That's really where, of course, a lot of the engineering nous and skill comes in.
Recent studies have shown that we are often extremely wasteful in the work we do. And when I say waste, I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about human capital, materials, tools and machinery, time, energy, social capital, land and ecosystem, as well as information and data. High rework and error rates in design and construction are typical, even endemic, with between 10 and 25% of average UK construction project costs being associated with avoidable error. And there's little evidence that things are better anywhere else. Like-for-like comparisons on engineering projects show huge variability in outturn, cost and performance, typically plus or minus 25% on the average. And what that tells us is that we're often very inefficient in project delivery, or put more positively, that there's plenty of room for improvement. It's also clear that we use far more materials on our projects than strictly necessary, and lots of reasons are put forward for this, but I personally don't find them very convincing. I believe that we've arrived at a situation where we are just less efficient than we should be. Recent research into construction and productivity has tended to be driven by concerns about infrastructure project costs and about the overall health of the construction sector. We haven't done much with the results of that research, and perhaps we would have done more if we'd realised how important productivity was in dealing with issues like climate change. My challenge to us all is to really focus on improving productivity by getting more effective and more efficient in the work that we do, because frankly, only by doing that will we meet the huge and existential challenges that we face in the 21st century.
As an engineer, I've worked on so many projects, and when you see the breakdown of costs to deliver a project, I'm often gobsmacked about just how much of the money is spent basically on doing nothing. Because it's not about the making or building it, it's all about poor preparation or duplication of efforts.
We are not evolving, let's say like that. We are not evolving at the same rhythm that the technology is evolving. The construction industry is a very slow sector in terms of how it's evolving. Other sectors in the industry are much faster and much quicker, but the construction sector has an inertia that is really lagging them now. So it is the main problem, that we are not evolving as quick as we should.
The productivity and efficiency challenge in construction goes right to the heart of other related issues as well, because if we are less wasteful in what we do, then we're going to start addressing the climate change issue. Everyone's talking about emissions at the moment and carbon, and the embodied carbon of the processes we're using in the industry are horrific. We are one of the biggest emitters of emissions out there. So we need to think about how we reduce that through the design processes we're using, the labour applications. If we can address that on all fronts, then we're going to actually attack the climate change issue as well.
So they say that engineers are people who can do for a penny what any fool can do for a pound. At the moment, we haven't got many even pennies kicking around the planet. We've got more people than we've got resources. And I think we're using stuff by way of our resources much too fast. We will run out as countries develop, and so it's incumbent on everybody who has a skill, I think, to put their shoulder to the wheel and try to help. Everybody's got to push in the same direction, try to help use our resources wisely.
We need to provide everyone with the infrastructure they need to live healthy, happy and productive lives. And we've got to do it within the carrying capacity of the planet. In the UK, our challenges are largely about renewal and adaptation, like you see here at Mayfield Park. Whereas elsewhere in the globe, there's a lot of new infrastructure to be built. In both cases, it's really critical that we properly understand and frame the opportunity, that the benefits are really enough, and that the negative impacts are acceptable.
I think what engineers need to bring to this conversation is the technical excellence, absolutely, but that needs to be underpinned with a high degree of emotional intelligence. And from an emotional intelligent perspective, it's thinking about how people are going to occupy and experience the park in this case, but also the relationship with the buildings that enclose it and the dynamics that that brings. And the other key aspect of that is actually ensuring that that's done in a way that's responsible to the natural environment. And here we are attempting to reuse natural processes, working with the prevailing geography to ensure that those things are seamlessly integrated together.
Good infrastructure is all about people. The people who design, who build, who operate and use the infrastructure. And the key to getting good infrastructure is getting the right blend of people involved in the infrastructure delivery process. And for me, that's really what diversity is about. It's not just about fairness and justice. It's about making sure you bring into the development of infrastructure insights, understanding, creativity, delivery capability, and all of the rich tapestry of human capability. In truth, the art of civil engineering always required more than a narrow set of technical specialisms. But in the 21st century, we see a growing need to include people with other skills, from data scientists to community engagement specialists. I believe that we need to welcome these people into our community of infrastructure professionals if we're to deliver the improvements in productivity that we need.
If we're going to meet the challenges that we're talking about, we need to do effective collaboration. But what I'm talking about isn't just collaborations between people in the room or people within a company. I'm talking about better collaborations between companies, between sectors, between government departments, even between countries internationally. And we're too siloed in the way we do things, I think.
As we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic, two things are really clear to me. Firstly, when we work together, it's amazing what we can achieve. And secondly, that we really live in times of uncertainty. And in times of uncertainty, it's useful to seek eternal truths. And for me, improving efficiency is always a good idea. And to explore that idea further, let's have a look at the Laing O'Rourke factory. Here in this amazing facility, I'm reminded of the tremendous achievements of manufacturing in improving both effectiveness and efficiency. Key to that success has been the ruthless elimination of waste from their processes. And I believe that we in infrastructure can achieve much the same. Anybody who looks at our design, construction and operational processes will see plenty of room for improvement. These observations are not new. The lean construction movement has been trying for a long time to drive systemic improvements in this area. So why hasn't progress been made? Well, we don't have the key features of the automotive sector, which are the existence of few, large, vertically integrated client organisations, stable supply chains and controllable working environments. And it's proven difficult without these to generate the alignment and processes which are essential to eliminating waste. We also see relatively little application of new technology
because of the lack of commercial alignment and processes which are necessary to make it attractive.
Personally, I don't accept the argument that we have nothing to learn from manufacturing experience because our projects are out in the rain or they're always different. On the contrary, I think that what we've got to learn from manufacturing is about the need to focus on end-to-end processes, control of the environment within which we work, and the ruthless elimination of waste. If we've got to control the environment outside, like Mace did with the Rising Factory, or the SMR program is doing with Rolls-Royce, then let's do that too.
Of course, individual organisations seek to eliminate waste in the parts of the process that they're directly responsible for. But at the same time, it's clear that many, even most organisations, benefit in the short term from waste in the overall process. If you doubt this, ask yourself whether a ready-mix concrete supplier is happy or sad if the volume of concrete required is twice as much as strictly necessary because the designer has over-specified it or the contractor has made mistakes in putting it in place. The consequences of endemic waste might have been acceptable in the past, but in the context of current challenges, they're not anymore. The pandemic has forced us to innovate rapidly, and to give us an example of this, I spoke to Alan Leung in Hong Kong about his astonishing hospital project that was built in only 4 months.
I have done a lot of hospitals before. I built high-rise hospital in Hong Kong, but I never done to build a hospital 816 isolation beds within such a short time. We have to really employ all our knowledge on how to build building, to think about how can we do it more efficiently, how we compress the program, can we re-engineer not even the construction method, but also the delivering of the process.
How long would a project like that, do you think, normally have taken?
That would take 3 to 4 years. This project is important not only because we can build it within 4 months, but the important is we can find another way to build a hospital. And looking backward, I think it's just like a dream come true.
Later, I spoke to Professor Sabi Kisaf in the UAE, who shares the story of the Dubai World Expo, where sustainability has taken centre stage.
It's a very well-known fact that expos are the most unsustainable venues in the world. Dubai is different because we learned the lesson from previous expos. We're recycling materials and we try to design and construct to zero waste. We're also prefabricating off-site to increase quality and to increase productivity. And the big things for Dubai Expo is the creation of legacy team. The legacy team working on basically reusing the venue for future use, like exhibition, residential, and commercial. Ed, you know very well that we live in a very harsh environment, and without working with nature, you will not survive the environment. Also, we learned that in this environment, you have to look after others as well. And therefore, you have to leave something behind you for the people coming after you.
I don't think anybody really benefits from waste, and I don't think they feel comfortable with it. But I do think that we're at the early stages of understanding recycling in manufacturing and in construction.
Growth isn't really about, how much money we spend or how many people there are in the economy. It's about doing things better, more efficiently with what we've got.
How can we get better productivity? I think my answer would be, it's not something you can do on your own. It's you need people who come from all sorts of different backgrounds to be able to work together.
I think we need to be a bit pushier in a way. We need to be pushed through the crowd to get our voices heard.
So work with your clients, work with standard setters, work with government and public bodies. Together is how we make change happen.
So I think there's a great opportunity for the engineering profession and the ICE as well to really step up to the challenge here.
The ICE is a great institution. It's been there, we know it, some of us even love it, but it has a tremendous body of expertise that needs to be out there. The support of an institution when you need it is a great thing.
As civil engineers, what we do and the way we do it are absolutely critical to society as we confront the challenges of the 21st century. If we're going to survive, if we're going to thrive, both as a society and as a profession, I believe we really need to change.
We need to fundamentally improve the productivity with which we design, we build and we operate infrastructure. And we'll do that through a relentless focus on improving effectiveness and efficiency in everything we do. I believe that we've got to challenge ourselves to get better starting right now. And there are loads of reasons to want to do this, but surely none is more important than our own survival. Now, who's up for that?